Sometimes people walk away from your life quietly. No fight, no closure, just distance and silence. It hurts not because they left, but because they left peacefully, like they were meant to. And deep inside, you wonder, if Allah made them leave gently, will He ever bring them back gently too? There are times when endings feel unfinished. But maybe they weren't endings, maybe they were pauses. Because Allah doesn't close peaceful doors forever. He closes them to let both hearts heal, learn, and return with wisdom. When two souls are meant for each other, distance does not destroy them, it develops them. Because sometimes Allah has to separate what's beautiful, not to break it, but to build it stronger. You see, love written by Allah is never lost, but it must go through a process of purification, patience, and preparation. And that process often begins with separation. There are moments when Allah looks at two hearts and says, "Not yet." Not because He's cruel, but because He knows what's ahead. And He knows that right now, you both are still learning the lessons that will make that love last. Maybe one of you still has pride to soften. Maybe the other still has wounds to heal. Maybe both still need to strengthen your relationship with Allah before you can safely handle a relationship with each other. Because love without Allah becomes attachment, and attachment without Allah becomes pain. So Allah, in His mercy, separates two people not to punish them, but to protect them from loving in a way that would destroy their peace. He knows that sometimes the worst thing that could happen is to meet the right person at the wrong time. So He closes the door gently, peacefully, and whispers through that pain, "I am not saying no, I am saying not yet." Separation is not always a sign of rejection. It's a sign of divine attention, because Allah only delays what He intends to perfect. He knows your heart cannot hold the blessing until it has learned to hold Him first. And that's what this distance is really for. To bring you back to your source. To make you depend less on people and more on prayer. To make you remember that the one who writes love stories must always remain the center of yours. When you're separated from someone you care about, you'll feel the ache, the silence, the void, the longing. But even in that pain, Allah is strengthening you. He's teaching you to find peace in solitude, to find purpose in patience, to find healing in His remembrance. Because the one who learns to stand with Allah in loneliness will never crumble when tested by love. Sometimes the distance feels endless. You check the calendar, the messages, the memories, hoping for a sign that maybe they'll return. But what if the sign is the silence itself? What if Allah is keeping you apart, so both of you can finally hear Him clearly? Because often, when we're surrounded by noise, we mistake attachment for guidance. But when Allah removes the noise, He lets us see what was truly written for us. The separation is not an absence, it's an assignment. It's where Allah reshapes your heart, reminds you of your value, and trains you to trust Him without question. He's showing you that love built on dependence breaks easily, but love built on dua survives anything. Every moment you spend apart is part of His divine design, to make sure that when your paths cross again, you don't meet as the same people who once said goodbye. You'll meet as stronger believers, healed souls, humbled servants, grateful for what was lost, and ready for what was always meant. You might not see it now, but every distance ordained by Allah carries hidden mercy. Sometimes He keeps two people apart so that when they finally reunite, Their hearts are purified of ego, their intentions are renewed by faith, and their love no longer belongs to this world, but to Him. So, when you find yourself separated from someone you once prayed for, don't assume Allah has erased them from your destiny. Maybe He's just rewriting the both of you, so that when your stories meet again, they fit perfectly. Separation doesn't mean the story is over. It might just mean that the next chapter is being written in silence, by the one who knows how to turn distance into destiny. Because sometimes Allah separates not to end the bond, but to strengthen the souls who were always meant to hold it. Not every goodbye is meant to break you. Some goodbyes are designed by Allah to protect you, to preserve something pure before the world or your emotions could ruin it. And when someone leaves your life peacefully, without chaos, without cruelty, without resentment, that is not loss. That is mercy. Because peace is never random. When Allah allows someone to walk away from you quietly, it means He removed them in the most merciful way possible. No screaming, no betrayal, no damage to your dignity. Just silence, a divine silence that carries meaning deeper than words could ever hold. Sometimes, Allah separates two people not because their bond was wrong, but because the timing was. Maybe both hearts needed purification. Maybe both needed to heal privately. Maybe one needed to learn sabr, patience, and the other needed to learn tawakkul, trust. And so, in His wisdom, Allah ends things peacefully, so both can grow without hatred or sin. You see, there are people who leave loudly, through argument, through anger, through ego. And there are people who leave quietly, not because they don't care, but because they care enough not to destroy what was once beautiful. They protect your peace even as they walk away. That's not rejection, that's refinement. When Allah loves you, He won't let destruction be your ending. He'll close the door softly. He'll make the exit silent, so that when your paths cross again, if they are meant to, you can look at each other with time's respect asterisk, not regret. Peaceful endings are proof that Allah was present in the relationship, because when He removes something with gentleness, it means He wants to keep the connection clean. No grudges, no guilt, no wounds. Just a quiet pause, a time of reflection, a space for both hearts to rediscover Him before rediscovering each other. When someone leaves your life peacefully, don't mistake it for indifference. Sometimes that person cried in silence, made dua in secret, and walked away only because staying would have led to sin or spiritual harm. They didn't leave because they stopped caring. They left because they cared enough to surrender to Allah's will. And that kind of exit is sacred. It's not closure, it's clarity. It's Allah saying, I'm still in control of this story. Let me rewrite it my way. You may not understand it now, but you will one day see that peace was protection. Had things ended in anger, you'd still be carrying bitterness. Had they ended in betrayal, you'd still be healing from distrust. But because Allah let it end in calm, your heart can heal with grace. Peaceful departures leave doors open, not for attachment, but for possibility. Possibility that maybe, one day, when hearts are purified and souls are stronger, Allah might realign what was once separated. And if not, then peace was the closure your heart needed to walk away without hate. So, if someone left your life without drama, without damage, thank Allah, because that's rare mercy, a sign that He wanted your heart to rest, not wrestle. It's His way of saying, this is not your ending, it's your protection. And if this soul is meant for you, I will return them to you with the same peace I took them away with. Time apart is not punishment, it is a mirror. A divine mirror that reveals what words, promises, and closeness often hide. Because when Allah creates distance between two people, He's not only testing their love, He's exposing their intentions. It's easy to say, I care about you, when you're close. It's easy to promise forever when emotions are high and hearts are attached. But what happens when silence replaces communication? When dua replaces conversation? When the only connection left is the one that passes through Allah? That's when truth begins to speak. Time apart has a way of revealing who truly values you and who only valued the access to you. It shows who remembers you in prayer and who replaces you in distraction. It shows who turns to Allah about you and who turns to others to talk about you. Because separation is not just distance, it's discernment. Allah removes you from certain people so you can see their hearts clearly, without the noise of attachment. And if the bond was pure, it will survive the silence. If it was fake, it will fade with time. Sometimes Allah hides you from someone to see if they search for you through dua or through desire. Because anyone can chase you when they're lonely, but only the sincere will seek you through time's sujood. And that's the beauty of divine separation. It cleanses the connection of illusion. It filters out the ones who were there for convenience from the ones who were there for connection. If a person can forget you easily, then their heart was never deeply tied to yours. It was tied to their comfort, not your character. But if they still remember you in their quiet prayers, still wish you peace without reaching out, still ask Allah to bless you, even when you're far away, that's not weakness. That's sincerity. Distance has a way of maturing the soul. It turns attachment into understanding, infatuation into intention, and desire into dua. What once was physical becomes spiritual. And when that happens, you begin to see that this time apart was never about losing each other. It was about finding Allah in the space between you. Because only when love survives in silence does it prove that it was built on sincerity. Anyone can stay when it's easy, but only the genuine stay loyal through distance. Sometimes Allah separates two people so that He can become the center of their connection instead of their emotions. He takes away the contact to give you clarity. He pauses the relationship to purify your reasons. He quiets the noise so you can hear what your heart truly says, when no one else is around to influence it. If, during your separation, you find yourself still making dua for them, not out of attachment, but out of mercy. If you pray, Ya Allah, grant them peace, even if it's not with me, then your love has already elevated into something divine. Because love that matures in separation is the kind that Allah blesses in reunion. And if they too spend this time remembering you with kindness, keeping your name alive in their dua instead of their gossip, then trust that Allah is nurturing both hearts quietly in the unseen. He's allowing time to shape both of you into who you need to become, so that when or if your paths cross again, you'll recognize each other not by looks, but by growth. So don't rush the silence. Don't hate the distance. Let time do what time was sent to do, reveal, refine, and realign. Because if the connection was built by Allah, time won't destroy it, it will deepen it. And when the waiting feels heavy, remember, Allah never separates two souls without a reason, and never keeps them apart longer than is necessary. If their intention is pure, time will return them to you. And if it's not, time will release you, so that peace, not pain, becomes your ending. Healing separately doesn't mean the story is over. It means Allah is preparing a better version of it. Sometimes, two people meet before they've healed, before they've faced their wounds, before they've learned how to love without losing themselves. And so, Allah separates them not to erase the connection, but to rebuild both souls into something strong enough to hold it. You see, Allah doesn't bless a connection that's built on broken foundations. He wants your love to stand on Iman, not insecurity, on patience, not possession, on faith, not fear. And before that can happen, both hearts must go through a sacred process. A process that can only happen in solitude. When Allah pulls you away from someone you love, He's inviting you to heal not just from them, but from yourself, from the parts of you that depended too much on another person for peace, from the pain you never gave yourself permission to feel, from the habits that kept you spiritually asleep. Because sometimes the heartbreak isn't about losing a person, it's about finding the version of you that you lost in trying to keep them. And that rediscovery doesn't happen when you chase closure. It happens when you seek Allah. Healing separately is not abandonment, it's alignment. It's Allah saying, you can't meet again until you both meet me first. Because two broken hearts cannot build a home of mercy. But two healed hearts, anchored in faith, can hold a love that reflects Jannah. So He separates you gently. He closes the door softly. He leaves you with silence instead of scars, because He's protecting the connection from resentment. He knows that healing while clinging to each other would only reopen wounds that time and prayer were meant to close. In this quiet season of separation, you'll learn how to find peace without their presence. You'll learn how to talk to Allah about them instead of to them. You'll cry, but your tears will begin to change. They'll go from pain to purification, because every tear shed in remembrance of Allah washes away a layer of ego, pride, and impatience. And they too, the person who left, are being guided through their own healing. They're being tested in their own silence. They're learning lessons that only separation could teach them. Perhaps they're learning patience, humility, or gratitude. Perhaps they're realizing that love without faith is fragile, and that hearts connected through Allah are never truly apart. When Allah heals two people separately, He doesn't just fix what was broken, He upgrades what was missing. He expands your capacity to love, but with wisdom this time. He gives you empathy without attachment, hope without expectation, and trust without control. And when both hearts have healed enough to see each other, not as a need, but as a gift, Allah may allow your paths to cross again. This time, not as two wounded souls looking for comfort, but as two healed hearts ready to build a life of sakina. If you ever reunite, you'll notice something profound. There will be no rush, no fear, no confusion, just peace, the kind that whispers, this time, we're both ready. And if you don't reunite, that's mercy too, because Allah will send someone else who mirrors the peace you became, someone who recognizes your healed heart, because they also healed in His presence. Healing separately is not a delay of destiny, it's the development of it. It's Allah teaching you that sometimes the path to your person must pass through patience, and that the one who's meant for you will not just love your healed version. They'll thank Allah for the distance that made healing possible. So, don't hate the separation. Use it. Let it become the space where your wounds turn into wisdom and your longing turns into dua. Because when Allah finally brings you together, whether it's with them or someone new, you'll understand why the healing had to happen first. You'll realize that love isn't about never being apart. It's about trusting that when you heal through Allah, no separation is ever wasted. Distance is one of the hardest tests Allah gives to the heart. It makes you question everything: your worth, your patience, your dua. It makes you wonder, why would Allah allow someone I love to drift away? But what if that distance wasn't to make you doubt? What if it was to teach you faith? Because not all distance is rejection. Some distance is redirection. It's Allah quietly saying, I know you love them, but love me more. He separates what you depend on, so that your dependence returns to Him. He removes what distracts you, so that your dua becomes sincere again. Distance is where Allah trains your heart to love through trust, not possession. It's easy to have faith when someone is near, when their voice reassures you, when their presence comforts you. But real faith begins when you have nothing times but Allah, and yet your heart still whispers. He knows what He's doing. Sometimes Allah creates space between two people, so they can learn to connect through times, Him asterisk, not around Him. Because when love becomes worship, it brings peace. But when love becomes obsession, it brings pain. So He removes them, not to end the love, but to purify it, to turn emotional attachment into spiritual affection. If you've ever cried missing someone who left peacefully, understand this: Allah saw your tears, and He never wastes a tear shed in patience. Every time you said, Ya Allah, if it's meant, bring them back, the angels recorded it as faith, not weakness. Every sigh of longing you turned into dua became a brick in the unseen structure of your destiny. Distance teaches the heart to speak in a language only Allah understands. Because there are things you can't tell people, but you can always tell Him. And sometimes Allah will not shorten the distance. He will strengthen you within it. He will give you peace without answers, hope without signs, and stillness even when nothing changes. You'll begin to realize that true closeness isn't about being in the same place. It's about being on the same path. And even if your paths seem different now, if Allah wrote your hearts in the same decree, He will realign them when the timing is right. Until then, the distance is your classroom. It teaches you to surrender, to stop forcing what Allah is still preparing, to stop fearing that silence means abandonment. It teaches you that faith is not believing that they'll return, but believing that whatever happens will be good for your soul. If they're meant for you, Allah will protect their heart in your absence. He will keep it soft, He will keep it loyal, He will keep it yours. Not by desire, but by decree. And if they're not meant for you, He will replace your longing with a peace so complete that you'll thank Him for saying times no asterisk. Because distance in Allah's plan is never wasted. It's where the believer learns to walk by faith, not by feelings. It's where you realize that what truly belongs to you doesn't need your chasing, it needs your trust. So when you miss them, don't fill the space with complaints. Fill it with remembrance. When your heart aches, don't chase their shadow. Chase the one who wrote their name next to yours or erased it for your protection. And in that silence, you'll grow. You'll realize that distance didn't destroy your faith. It times revealed, times it. It made you stop asking, why did they go? And start saying, Ya Allah, whatever you're doing, Keep my heart steady. Because sometimes the greatest proof of love is not holding hands, but holding on to patience. Not walking together, but walking toward the same Allah, even from afar. When Allah sees that you can trust Him even while you're apart, that's when He decides whether to bring you closer again. And if He does, it will be with peace, not pressure. If He doesn't, it will still end with gratitude, not grief. Either way, you win, because distance that teaches you faith is better than closeness that makes you forget Allah. When Allah closes a door, He never slams it. He closes it gently, with silence instead of shouting, with distance instead of destruction. And that gentleness, that peaceful ending, is often the first sign that the story may not be finished, only paused, because Allah doesn't close peaceful doors to punish you. He closes them to protect you, to preserve what was pure before pain or ego could ruin it. He removes someone from your life quietly, so that if it's written, He can bring them back quietly too, without chaos, without regret, without guilt. When two people part ways peacefully, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. It means neither heart was ready for what the connection required. It means Allah stepped in and said, "Let me handle this. Let me write this better than you planned it." And so, the door closes, not with heartbreak that scars, but with closure that humbles. You're left in silence, but not in hate. You still make dua for them, but this time it's not out of attachment, it's out of mercy. Allah loves this kind of ending because peace means purity still exists between you. No slander, no betrayal, no curse. Just a calm understanding that Allah knows best. That kind of peace is not a coincidence, it's a divine preservation. He left the door unbroken because He might choose to open it again. You see, if something ended in anger, it would need healing before it could restart. If it ended in sin, it would need repentance before it could return. But when it ends in peace, there is nothing to fix, only time to prepare. Sometimes Allah separates two hearts, so that when they find each other again, they meet in a more beautiful form, clean, humble, patient, and spiritually aligned. That's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Is greater than, what is meant for you will never miss you, is greater than, and what misses you was never meant for you." So, if it left peacefully, don't chase it, but don't curse it either. Leave it in the hands of the one who wrote it, because when Allah Himself closes a door, He also keeps the key. And when the time is right, He can open it again with one silent command, be. If Allah decides to reopen a door, He won't do it through drama. He won't bring people back through chaos or guilt. He'll do it through ease. You'll bump into them unexpectedly. You'll cross paths naturally, and everything will feel calm, as if no time ever passed. You'll notice that the conversation flows differently, more mature, more respectful, more grounded. You'll talk less from emotion and more from wisdom. The past won't feel heavy anymore, because the distance already purified it. The silence already healed what needed healing. And in that moment, you'll understand, Allah closed that door before because you weren't ready to handle what was behind it. Now, He's reopening it because He made you ready. But here's the truth. Not every peaceful ending will reopen. Sometimes, the peace times is times the closure. Sometimes Allah gives you calm, not because He's preparing a reunion, but because He's freeing your heart from confusion. He's letting you walk away with dignity instead of damage. And that too is a miracle. Because in a world where people often destroy what they leave behind, leaving peacefully is a rare mercy. It means your heart can still make dua without bitterness, your memory can still smile without pain, and your faith can still say, Alhamdulillah, even for what didn't last. So if someone left your life peacefully, don't question the calm. It's not emptiness, it's Allah's signature. It means He handled the separation Himself. He guarded your heart from unnecessary chaos and left the door unbroken, just in case He chooses to open it again. And if He ever does, you'll notice something beautiful. You won't have to run after it this time. It will come to you naturally, carried by the same peace that took it away. Because when Allah writes a reunion, He brings it back the way He took it, quietly, mercifully, and perfectly timed. So keep your heart open, but keep your trust higher. The door that closed peacefully might reopen beautifully, but only when both hearts are finally ready to honor the peace Allah protected from the start. Sometimes two people meet before they're ready. They recognize something real in each other, but their hearts are still learning the language of peace. One might love too quickly, the other might love too carefully. Both mean well, but neither is yet mature enough to hold what Allah has written for them with wisdom. So Allah does what only He can do. He separates them, not out of cruelty, but out of care. He sends both souls into different seasons of growth, where pain becomes a teacher and time becomes the medicine that pride could never offer. Because love without maturity turns beautiful souls into broken ones, and Allah loves His servants too much to let them ruin something sacred by handling it prematurely. So He pauses the connection until both hearts are ready to meet, not through emotion, but through elevation. Maturity doesn't come from age, it comes from tests. It's born in long nights of crying, in lessons learned through loneliness, in mistakes that finally lead to repentance. It's realizing that love is not just about holding someone's hand, but also holding your tongue when you're angry. It's learning that silence during a fight is sometimes better than words that wound. It's discovering that real love isn't about being right. It's about staying righteous. Allah matures your heart through the very distance that breaks it. He makes you stronger through surrender. He humbles you through heartbreak. He teaches you that love built on neediness crumbles, but love built on taqwa, God consciousness, endures. And while you heal in your own world, they are healing in theirs. You're learning patience, they're learning gratitude. You're learning faith, they're learning humility. And even though you can't see it, Allah is realigning your paths quietly, adjusting both your hearts to beat at the same divine rhythm. When hearts mature under Allah's guidance, they begin to love differently. You stop needing constant attention and start appreciating quiet presence. You stop wanting control and start trusting qadr. You stop trying to force what's written and start saying, if Allah wills it, it will come back in peace. 1. Because maturity isn't about being fearless in love. It's about being faithful in separation. It's when your heart stops asking, asterisk, why did they go? Asterisk, and starts saying, Ya Allah, if this was written for me, return it to me when I am ready to receive it as you intended. And when that moment comes, when Allah sees that both hearts have softened, that both souls have learned to love through Him, not instead of Him, He brings them back in a way that feels effortless. There's no chasing, no awkwardness, no tension. Just peace, like two travelers meeting again after a long journey, each carrying stories of growth, gratitude, and grace. You'll notice how much both of you have changed. What once triggered anger now inspires patience. What once caused distance now invites understanding. Where there used to be pride, now there's prayer. Where there used to be ego, now there's empathy. And in that moment, you'll realize Allah never wasted a single second of that separation. He used it to build the version of both of you that could finally protect what He always wanted to give. Because love without maturity is a storm, but love after growth is sakina. It's calm, steady, secure. It's not rushed, it's not loud, it doesn't need proving. It's quiet confidence, the kind that says, I trust Allah's timing more than my feelings. So, if you're apart right now, don't despair. Maybe this isn't the end, maybe this is the time's becoming. Asterisk. Maybe Allah is still teaching you both how to love in a way that honors Him. And if you do cross paths again, it won't be like the first time. It will feel softer, more patient, more spiritual. You'll talk about forgiveness instead of blame, gratitude instead of guilt, and prayer instead of promises. Because when hearts mature, love is no longer about possession. It's about time's purpose. Asterisk. And Allah realigns paths, not when you're desperate, but when you're ready. So, be patient with the process. The same Allah who allowed you to meet knows exactly when to let you meet again, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to become. When Allah writes someone for you, no distance, no silence, and no circumstance can erase that decree. He may delay it, but He never denies what's meant to be. And when something or someone is truly written in your qadr, it will not return through confusion or chaos, it will return with honor. Because Allah never sends back what He purified to be played with again. He only allows reunion when both souls are capable of protecting what they once lost through immaturity. You see, when something isn't written for you, it ends in humiliation, words said in anger, hearts filled with pride, closure that never comes. But when Allah writes something for you, even the endings feel peaceful. Even the distance feels purposeful. And if He chooses to bring that soul back into your life, it will happen in a way that reflects His time's rahmah asterisk, not your desperation. They won't come knocking out of guilt. They won't return to fill a void. They won't come back because they're lonely. They'll return because Allah brought them back. Because the same Lord who turned their heart away for a reason will turn it back toward you for a greater one. That's why you don't have to chase what left peacefully. You don't have to call, plead, or prove your worth. If it's written, Allah will realign it in a way that no one, not even you, could have planned. It will be natural, effortless, dignified. The Quran reminds us, is greater than, indeed, what is with Allah will come, and you cannot hasten it. Surah An-Nahl 16-1. That means when Allah decides, the timing will be perfect. No earlier, no later, not when you're still wounded, not when they're still confused. He will only bring both hearts back when reunion will add times barakah, times to your faith, not burdens to your soul. And when it happens, you'll know. It won't feel like starting over. It will feel like continuing peacefully. There will be no tension, no blame, no leftover bitterness. Just two souls that have seen life, faced loss, and come back refined by experience and faith. The one written for you will return times with honor. Asterisk. They'll approach you respectfully with maturity, not manipulation. With intention, not impulse. They'll carry adab, not excuses. They won't remind you of your past. They'll remind you of how Allah rewrote your story with mercy. And you won't meet them with resentment, because by then Allah will have already healed what hurt. You'll no longer seek closure, you'll see clarity. You'll understand that their absence was never abandonment. It was Allah's way of perfecting the love before He presented it again. If they're truly written for you, the reunion will not require chasing. It will not come through games, tests, or guilt. It will come through ease. Conversations will flow effortlessly. Intentions will be clear. Your hearts will both feel peace instead of pressure. Because when Allah restores what's His, He does so with dignity. He doesn't bring people back to repeat mistakes. He brings them back to fulfill destiny. And if they return, it won't be to relive the same story. It will be to write a new one where both of you have grown closer to Allah first, and therefore closer to each other in the right way. But if they never return, if that chapter truly ended, that too is honor, because Allah spared you from living in circles. He gave you peace instead of pain, and that's a sign that your story is still being written, just not with them, but with someone who will honor your heart exactly the way you honored Allah during the wait. So, stop worrying about who left or who might return. Your only concern should be, am I becoming the person worthy of the destiny I'm praying for? Because if they're written, Allah will guide them back at the exact second when your heart and theirs are both ready to handle each other with mercy, not ego. And when that happens, it won't feel like a comeback. It will feel like completion. They will return, not to fix what was broken, but to build what Allah always intended. A love rooted in faith, sealed with patience, and crowned with honor. At the end of every waiting, every prayer, every tear you shed for someone who left peacefully, you must remember one truth: Allah never writes loss into the destiny of a believer. What He removes, He replaces. What He delays, He perfects. What He ends, He transforms into something that heals you, even if you can't see it yet. If they left your life with calmness, thank Allah for that peace, because peace is proof that He was protecting something sacred: your dignity, your purity, your heart. And whether He brings them back or not, that peace will stay with you as a sign of His mercy. If they do return, it will be by His permission, not by your pursuit. It will not be through chance, it will be through qadr. It will not require begging or proving. It will arrive naturally, at a time when both of you have learned how to love through worship instead of want. The reunion will not be about you and them. It will be about you and Allah, and how He fulfilled your dua when your heart was finally ready to hold the blessing with humility. But if they don't return, if that door never opens again, then understand that Allah gave you something greater: peace without dependence. He freed you from what would have broken you. He taught you to stand again, to breathe again, to love again, but this time with Him at the center. And when you reach that level of calm, you realize the goal was never the person. It was your soul's evolution through Allah's love. Because in every departure there is divine design. In every distance there is divine direction. And in every delay there is divine development. Allah does not take anything away unless He intends to give you something better. So, whether they come back or not, you have already won, because you chose patience over panic, faith over fear, and trust over tears. you are no longer waiting for someone to return. You are waiting for what Allah has promised. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Quran 94-6. And that ease will arrive exactly when your heart no longer demands outcomes, but simply whispers, Ya Allah, whatever you decide, I am at peace. Because when you surrender like that, you will finally understand. The story was never about losing them. It was about finding you, the version of you who trusts Allah so deeply, that even in silence, even in separation, even in endings, you still say with full conviction, Alhamdulillah,